Hello everyone, welcome back to Creative Chaos. I had such a hard time trying to decide what to do. You can see me tapping my little fingers there, just not quite sure what I wanted to do. I had a whole bunch of beads and I had recently gone to Hobby Lobby and I was just trying to decide, did I want to do a Suncatcher? Did I want to do another tree? I have all these little stones that aren't quite enough to do something big, but I could wrap them around maybe a smaller hoop, and all these different bicone beads or glass beads, and then I had picked up these 2-inch steel rings that I want to try doing smaller, and these 3-inch rings that I want to try doing smaller wire trees in. But it really was hard for me to decide, so I ended up opening up the 3-inch pack and pulled one of those out, and then went exploring through my stuff and found a 4-inch hoop in this white box, and then I knew I had a 6-inch hoop as well, and I started thinking I wanted to do the 6-inch hoop. But I didn't know if I wanted to include both the 3 and 4-inch hoops in the Suncatcher. I did decide on a Suncatcher. I didn't know if I wanted to keep both of them in or just use one of them, so I kind of put those aside for the time being. So I was just trying to decide which beads to use, and I ended up going with the ones that one right there. I'll pull back over in just a minute. And I just take off one of the strands. Now these strands can be difficult to maneuver with, especially because they pack them and tie them so tightly. So I kind of take and pull a little bit and then grab my scissors and I'm able to pull it off and get off all our beads there. Now I'm going to combine those with some clear crystal, not crystal, but bicone glass beads that I am going to wrap around. Now I don't measure out my wire, I just grab a bunch and then cut it off, and so that's so I don't have a measurement for you. Now I'm going to take one end and I'm going to wrap it around a few times. We'll go once, twice, and just about 3. And then I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and just kind of twist a little bit to make the end flush with the hoop. And now we are going to start our pattern. I'm going to take a bicone bead and pull it up, and then I'm going to hold it tight to the top of the hoop. We go once around and then twice. So you're going to be going twice around after each bead. Now I take a rock chip and do the same thing. I'm going to hold it in place right next to that, as firmly on top as I possibly can, as evenly on top as I possibly can, and I wrap it twice around. That locks things into place. Now it'll still wiggle quite a bit, just because it takes a few, what do I want to say? What's the word I want to use? It takes a few rows of it, or pattern. It takes a few times of going through the pattern a few times. There we go. I got that sentence eventually. To be able to lock it into place so that it doesn't keep rotating around and around. So I went with another bicone bead, and now I'm going with another chip, rock chip, and then another bicone bead, and we're just going to repeat this pattern through and through. Bicone bead, wrap twice around, and you, like I just did, you take it and squeeze it together so that you make sure that you're getting it nice and tight and that it's not going to spread too far apart. And then another chip, rock chip, and we're going to wrap that twice, once and twice. And then we'll just keep repeating that around. Now I'm going to skip ahead to, okay, I guess I'm not necessarily skipping ahead. We're going to fast forward a little bit. I want to take you to the point where I am just about out of wire and show you what to do when it's time to end one batch of wire and start up a new one. And it's really quite easy. I usually, if I got a rock chip, I like to end with a bicone bead or a really big rock chip, or start with a really big rock chip. So here we are, we're getting near to the end. I am twisting around. So we're going to add one more bicone bead, and then we're going to twist once, twice, 3, and 4 times. So I just happened to have enough wire to twist around 4 times, but that will lock everything into place. And then we just need to get some more wire. So give me a second to do that. And then we're just going to go kind of right next to, or even right over, the wire that we just put down. Now I'm going right next to, and I'm only twisting around 3 times. I twisted twice with the short end and 1 with the long end. And then I am going to push that down to, and then push it together so that everything kind of comes together nice and squishy. And then I'm going to pick out one of the larger rock chips to continue the pattern, but because it's larger, it will kind of cover that wire that we just put about, let's see, it was 4 and then 3, so we just put 7 loops around, so that'll kind of help cover that so it's not as noticeable. But then we will continue doing just once and twice, just 2 wraps in between all of the others once again until we finish with the hoop. Now if you get a kink in your wire, like it twists and you just kind of get a kink in it, undo. That's about to happen right here with this, and you can't quite see me undo the kink, but then you just kind of undo it, and then the wire just winds up bent. You can kind of see it's bent. So just take your flat nose pliers and press gently. It'll undo the kink, and then it kind of straightens out the wire, and then you can just keep going. So super easy, super fast. We are coming down to the end of the hoop. So this is where you can kind of gauge, do you have enough rock chips? Do you have too many rock chips? Do you need to squeeze the wires together a little bit tighter? Do you need to pull them apart so that you have less, more, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Okay, so you can either squeeze them together so that you can make more room for more of your rock chips, or you can kind of pull them apart a little bit, and that will make it so that if you have less rock chips left, you can use those up and still fill the hoop. Hopefully that made sense. But I have more rock chips than I have room for, so I was kind of squeezing everything together, making sure it's nice and tight so that I could fit as many on there as possible. And I believe this is the last rock chip. Made it a little difficult to put on. There we go. And then I'm just going to twist that in there, I think 3 times. And then I'm going to cut the end, any leftover wire, and then use my flat nose pliers to really make sure that that end is flush with the hoop. Now here is where I try to decide where I want to go next with this. I know I want to use some of the rock chips on one of the smaller hoops. I decide on the 4-inch hoop. And I'm not going to use any of the bicone beads on this one because I have plenty of chips. You'll see me kind of take these rock chips and fill in the circle to see if I've got enough if I think I have enough that I can completely fill the hoop with it. So we're going to move the 6-inch hoop to the side. I'm going to kind of move these around and see if I've got, and it looks like I've got plenty, so I'm not worried about needing to fill in with the bicone beads. So we put those aside, get out another stretch of wire. Like I said, I don't measure it out, so I can't tell you how much it is. I just get a lot. I think about 2 arm lengths is what I do. You don't want it so long that it's impossible to work with and you keep getting kinks in the wire, but you don't want it so short that you're constantly having to get more wire. And it really is just, it's something that comes with practice. So you would have seen me, I put down, or I had to grab my wire cutters and just cut a little bit off the end there. It was just a little bit too long on the short side. And you'll notice, well, maybe you will notice, maybe you won't, but on this one, it really just depends on how you put your wire on. On the other one, I was going front to back. Let's see. Nope, I was going, yeah, front to back, going over the wire. Now I'm going back to front and I'm going underneath the wire. And so I had plenty of rock chips to get me to this point, and I wanted to end with one of the bigger rock chips so that it would cover up the wires as they came together, as doing the beginning wrapping and the ending wrapping. So, and on this one, I think I was running out of wire. I was getting a little bit nervous. But I think I had just enough. Let's see, we're going to go with this last one, and then I believe I take and I spread them out. So you'll see that I wrapped it about 4 times, and now I've got this big gap, and I don't want this big gap. So I take and I just spread the wires a little bit between the rock chips. I spread the rock chips really, and it helps cover it up. So now I have my 2 that are completely finished, and I'm trying to decide if I want to add the 3rd one or not. Maybe add it at the bottom, but I just ultimately decided I didn't like that, and I went on to just trying to decide what to use in the middle. I went through, I was really kind of drawn to this iridescent teardrop shape, but I ended up ultimately not using it, mostly because the iridescence was contrasting with the pink beads that I had already picked out. So instead, let's see, I'm still trying to decide. At this point, I'm still trying to decide. But instead, I actually ended up going with something completely different. Right here, I'm just getting out the chains because I still think I'm going to use this, but I just need to see how long it needs to be. And then I'm using my flush cutters to trim off some chain, and the chain I just had in a Suncatcher kit that I had picked up. It's the same with the teardrop gem for the middle, and so I think here is where I ultimately decide to try something different, and I really like this ball better. I almost called it a bauble. It is a bit of a bauble. It's a beautiful one. It's faceted, and I picked it up on Amazon. I will try to remember to put the link in the description, but it comes with its own split ring that you can thread onto it, nice and big and easy to thread through. So now I am taking a split ring and I am threading on the chain, and I'm going to put that as carefully as I possibly can in between two of those rock chips. It ends up being a bit difficult because the rock chips are really quite close together, but then closing that up, making sure that the ends are flush. You don't want them to be spread apart. That's why whenever you do split chain or split rings, you always go side to side. You never open them up, like breaking them apart like you would if you broke apart an egg, sort of thing, because that makes it more difficult to get them so that they will sidle up side by side again, and you don't want your chain to escape, basically. So now I'm cutting a chain for the top part. I ended up cutting the chain a little bit too big, and I didn't like the way it made the middle or the 4-inch hoop. It really did go down too far, almost hit the bottom of the 6-inch hoop, but I didn't change it in the filming just because I was so tired by the time I was done with this. This took me about 2 hours to do altogether, and so I ended up not changing it then, but I did change it later on. I just cut off a couple more links and then it was okay. Now the bauble in the middle does kind of come off, and I have to fix that by putting on a different I was trying to decide at that point if I wanted to attach anything along the bottom of the 6-inch hoop, but I ultimately decided not. I kind of liked the look of the big faceted ball in the middle. I don't know why you wanted to call it a bauble. Now I am grabbing a certain length of chain so that I can attach it's going to hang at the top. It's going to be the chain that you use to hang it at the top. And so I linked it up on one side and then counted the same amount of rock chips and bicones to match it up on the other side so that it was even. It was difficult to get it through there, as you can tell. So I did that and then straightened that out as much as I could so that it wasn't twisting. Slipped in the split chain, or no, and then counted down so that I was at the same amount. Now we're going to attach this, and that is the hanging chain. Now this is where the ball fall. My goodness, I know how to talk. The ball falls off, and so I have to put. It was a problem with the jump ring, and so I have to put another jump ring on there. But it's easily done. Okay, it's easily done. I promise it's easily done. And just like that, we are finished. Now I'm going to take a picture of it, but then I take it outside so that you can see it sparkle. I took it out the next morning, so it's not in direct sunlight, but hopefully you'll enjoy seeing what it looks like. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it, and just love the way it turned out. I'm giving it as a gift to someone whose birthday is today. So have a great day, make it a great week, and we will see you next week. Bye everyone.